Welcome to Cycling Demystified, brought to you by Foundation Bike Fit and Frequency Cycle Works, the podcast where we help you take your cycling to the next level by sharing the knowledge from experienced bike fitters, mechanics, and the hidden players within the bike industry.
All right, team, welcome back to the podcast, and I think we're going to hit a few nerves today. We're going to hit home with a truth, but maybe an inconvenient truth. And I think this is something, well, I think this is one of the main reasons why bike fitting is, or should be, more relevant now in the modern era than it has ever been. But I'm not sure if that's actually, if it's seen that way or not. But bike fitting should have more relevance now. And that is because of the way our bikes are sold and configured and put together, or not put together. And so we're going to talk about bikes today. About maybe how we should go about buying bikes and maybe about expectations around the bikes themselves and where we currently stand. Where are we in 2025 when it comes to a bicycle, a road bicycle? Maybe it applies to kind of mountain bikes. Mountain bikes are kind of going this way as well. Gravel bikes, definitely triathlon bikes, TT bikes. Ooh. But yeah, we just wanted to, enlarge your perspective on kind of how bikes are configured and how you should go around figuring out, what's going to be best for you. So, I think, was it you, young Matt, this brought this topic up? You were just like, well, actually, the chance that, if you buy a new bike, that every single component of it, like the handlebar width, the stack, the hood shape, the crank length, the saddle position, the seat post, everything is going to be just right for you, let alone getting the frame size right, is probably pretty minimal.
Well, it was how you think about a bike, wasn't it? That was the thing.
I mean, in fact, I think chances are, if you're listening to this podcast, you're probably aware about all the different variables on a bike.
Yeah.
But definitely part of the job in a lot of bike fitting sessions is kind of what I was saying is dismantling the elements of the bike, whereby, you aren't just buying a bike when you purchase something. You are buying a set of components that, should in theory all be variable and all come in different sizes and lengths. And
the bike is the sum of the components that make up its parts, right? That's
and it's challenging people to think of it in that way.
So when you say dismantle the bike, you don't physically mean dismantle the bike.
No, I mean, although chances are that will need to happen.
That will need to happen, but you're talking about breaking it down in your head to the sum of the parts that make up the bicycle, rather than the bicycle as one whole entity.
I've got an image in my head of one of those exploded diagrams of one of those
what are those old books, the blue books that did every car under the sun.
I'll have to.
I'm gonna have to look at that. But it's basically a blue hardback book that your granddad probably had in his garage. My granddad had one for his Mini Cooper.
Or like if you.
What's a book?
Yeah. Fair point.
Or like a model, if you had
like an Airfix model.
Yeah.
What's the difference? Please tell me you know what Airfix is.
Yeah. I used to have like a Meccano. Anyway.
Yeah. Or even Lego.
It's on the side.
But bikes don't come with manuals like that, do they? You just get given a bike. Especially if you buy one online, it's just like, here you go. There's the bike. Pull it out of the box. Slightly semi-assembled. And then you've got to figure it out.
Well, basically, you put the pedals on, put the wheels on, set the saddle height, and bosh, off you go.
I mean, to be fair, like if you buy a Canyon, they come in a box and they do actually give you all the tools, even torque wrench, things like that, to kind of set it all up. Well, they have to because a lot of it is proprietary. So,
it's like back furniture.
And yeah. But there's no exploded diagram, is there? There's no IKEA manual of like do this step, do step, do a step. No. If you buy a Cervelo online, like there it is.
There's a YouTube video.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen that? So Canyon do all their troubleshooting now, their videos.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's the 21st century, isn't it? YouTube nation. It's all good.
I don't know how I feel about that.
Anyway, coming back to young Matt here. Yeah, part of our job is to I think people do come to us before they buy a bike and get a bike fit. But they also have lots of other questions about, you can't go through the buying process without asking about, well, the configuration and the different group sets and all the different things that make up the bike. And so inherent within the process of getting a bike fit is an education of, well, these components make up your bike and you have choice around all of those things.
Theoretically.
Yeah. Like if someone's coming in for a bike fit before they buy a bike, then we put them on the jig, and the jig is fully adjustable in every single variable so that we can find the ideal, and then they can go shop. And theoretically, you can tell where, you can set up that bike that you want to buy to the configuration that we found on the jig, or at the very least know where the compromises are. So one of the modern issues that we have with modern bikes is that they all come with integrated cockpits. That means stem and handlebars are all one piece, and so you have to choose the right bar width, the right reach, the right stem length, the right angle, and sometimes the ideal configuration isn't offered, and so then you can make a choice. Do I want to compromise that or not? So, but if you don't come through a bike fit process with us or with anybody else, and you just go online and buy the bike, you might not even realize that these things are options. I think that's what you've been seeing within the studios. Sometimes people come in, they bought the bike, and then they come in for a bike fit. The other way around would probably be a better way to go about it. Get a bike fit first, and then buy the bike.
Yeah, but then people get the ump when you tell them that they're buying fit. It's like, well, yeah. And then you open that can of worms.
Yeah.
And then it's like the realization happens. It's like, oh, okay. Yeah. There's a different way to go about this.
Yeah. It's an expensive lesson.
Yeah. And that's the thing. We've got to this point, and it's not necessarily totally the fault of the consumer either.
No.
At all, really. It's the way bikes are pushed and sold. Is that it's kind of like, right, what obstacles are in the way of someone clicking buy now, and how do we remove those obstacles? And bike fit is a massive obstacle, really, for a bike brand in terms of shifting products, because there's a high likelihood that that bike that you're selling as a brand doesn't work for quite a relatively large population of the cycling community at large.
Yeah. I just wonder if bike fit in itself it just doesn't fit with our modern expectations of like buying
anything really.
Yeah, just like some kind of consumable or a tool of any kind.
Well, you were lining into a phone, weren't you?
Yeah.
Like a bike is now essentially like buying a phone. It has a very kind of like limited shelf life before it then becomes quote unquote obsolete. And if anything goes wrong with that phone, it is essentially disposable. Like you have to throw it away and get another one because it's designed specifically not to be able to be fixed, but it's designed to essentially fail, and then you have to buy another one. And I don't know, I'm kind of seeing this very, very kind of large similarity with the way certain carbon bikes are being produced, designed, sold, configured, whatever you want to call it. And yeah, it's like as soon as one thing goes wrong with that entity, the bike as a whole, it's in it, start again. Whereas the whole point of, anything like, it used to be cars, we're talking about washing machines, dishwashers, Hoovers, bikes especially, is the fact that if something goes wrong with it, it's a relatively simple thing to fix, usually, or you can just replace the one thing that needs to replace it.
I still think bikes are relatively simple machines at the end of the day.
Oh yeah, the machine itself hasn't changed.
No.
It's just how it's been presented and packaged.
Yeah, it's becoming more difficult.
Cars are fairly simple, right?
Yeah.
You bought a car recently. Was that simple?
Buying the car?
Well, buying the car is simple, but like if you go to a dealership now, you basically can't. You can't do what I was doing as a kid with my granddad, just putting the car on the ramps every weekend and having the whole thing apart, trying to figure out what's wrong with it. Yeah. You have to go into a dealership now with a laptop.
Yeah.
And run diagnostics.
So my father-in-law is having a right nightmare at the moment because he's got like an electronic, it's either an electronic clutch or electronic like accelerator. and basically it just cuts out
Yeah.
every so often. And so there's no mechanical way of fixing it. It has to be like an electronic way.
It's an electrical problem rather than a mechanical problem. And this is the same thing like we were talking about in relation to this, is like the death of the mechanical groove set.
Yeah.
Right. And like it's super, super hard now to buy a bike that doesn't have GRX on it. The GRX is mechanical, still majority. But it's really, really hard now to buy a road bike, like a performance road bike, that doesn't have electric shifting.
Well, I think it's difficult to buy a road bike that is optimized for mechanical shifting.
That isn't carbon.
That isn't carbon, yeah. Like there's very few, because again, most
why is that?
Most road bikes are configured to have cabling that runs through the handlebars or through the stem into
Which
the
is
headset.
stupid.
Yeah. Certainly from a mechanical point of view, it puts more kind of sharp bends into the cable housing, and it routes it in such a way that it's just going to cause a lot of friction. And so mechanical shifting doesn't really work well in that environment. And the whole point of creating that internally routed system, I think, originated from aerodynamics, right? Like people want to go faster on their bikes, so they wanted everything to be hidden away, and so it becomes faster. But the cost of that is that it becomes much, much harder to service. And the ability to adjust your bike is much harder, more expensive, more time consuming, can be done. And mechanical shifting just doesn't work as well. And so the trend has been, like you were saying, like SRAM has been a bike manufacturer's best friend, because they brought wireless electronic shifting to the lefties.
So it's cheaper to produce frames because you don't have to think about the inside of the frame and how the cables are going to be routed. All you need to do is buzz a couple of holes for the hoses and you're good.
Yeah.
It's a disposable root set. You know, when it breaks, can't fix it. You just have to throw it away and get another one.
They don't really provide any upgrades, do they? Yeah, SRAM's been great for bike manufacturers because it does simplify everything. But there's I don't think they offer that much backwards compatibility with like if you've got 11-speed axis, then that's basically obsolete. And they don't offer the
Can you pair 11-speed shifters with 12-speed brute sets?
No. So I think there's probably like
12-speed and 12-speed you can do. So newer transmission compatible stuff you can pair with 12-speed, but you can't compare ETAP with axis.
Yeah. But there's probably some electronic hacks that who's going to sort that out?
Like
the new generation.
Yeah, that's like taking apart your Campy shifter to like alter the
pull
ratio so you can use it with a Shimano Dior rear neck or something. Some well janky hack.
Yeah.
But this is the point. It's like it's the Apple approach of consumerism. It's like when it's broke, you chuck it and get another one. And that's your point, wasn't it? Really?
Yeah.
Like, the bike as the entity, it is one thing, and if something's not right, the whole thing's rubbish.
Yeah.
Whereas the bike is a sum of its parts.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, it's like, again, like if a shifter breaks, though, you can buy a new shifter, right? You don't have to chuck the whole thing.
But I think, but this is what I'm saying is that people think, oh, my bike's broken.
Right.
Maybe I'm kind of oversimplifying.
But if we're talking about like contact points, which let's face it is what we're interested in, like if you figure out, so if you buy, we're going to bash Canyon again, you buy an air road, right? And you come in then for a bike fit rather than doing a bike fit first, and you discover that, there is no way with whatever bike fit wizardry that you can think of to make that bike fit, because let's say, the frame reach is too long and you can't change the length of the stem, then effectively that whole bike is rendered useless for that rider, really, if we're going to have any hope of getting a good ride feel and a good position out of that.
Yeah.
So you got to bin the whole lot, effectively. Not bin it, but like move it on and look at something else.
Yeah.
So that, in my mind, is kind of like ridiculous, because just for the sake of making something as simple as a stem adjustable, where you might actually be able to make something work, you have to bin off the whole thing, which, like, to me, my mind is insane.
Well, in the last podcast, we talked about the differences between amateurs and professionals and maximal gains versus marginal gains and what the priorities are. So if you haven't listened to that, go listen to that. But, you know, in my mind, the marginal gains that have been created for the professionals, which is basically creating more aerodynamic products, which then trickles down into amateur ranks, because, you know, everybody wants the bikes that the pros ride, or that kind of look, or, you know, all of that aerodynamic preferencing, which doesn't really make as much sense for the amateur, suddenly gets put on like the consumer, because like the bike brands create a certain image, but they also have you know, the bottom line to think about, so they can't really make, you know, a different bike for the pros and like a different bike for the amateurs. They want it all to be the same, and you know, suddenly that's, you know, integrated, sleek, aero kind of look just becomes associated with, you know, a bike. That is just kind of what a bike is now for the modern consumer. But we kind of almost got to the stage where there's definitely people who don't remember like mechanical shifting, or, you know, things that aren't electronically shifting, and don't realize that you could have a separate handlebar and stem. Like people, even just being able to move the shifters around. So like when we start moving things around during a fit session, they're like, oh,
You can change that.
I didn't even know you could change
And
that.
that's just the tip of the iceberg, right? Like, dig down even further, and then we're talking about crank links.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah, I didn't even know that that was an option to have a different crank length.
Yeah.
But
Well, you're also like that. You go to seat posts.
oh yeah,
Or like
proprietary seat posts.
proprietary seat posts.
Or, you know, seat posts that are proprietary but offered in different setbacks.
Yeah.
Trek seat posts can be offered in different lengths, but people don't know. Like, how many times have you seen in the studio where someone's tried to put their seat post lower and it hasn't gone because it's set at a certain height, and then they're like, well, that's just the lowest it will go, so I'll just ride it at that height, and it's drastically too high.
Yeah.
And actually what you have to do is actually chop it down to get to the right height, and then
Don't start that track.
I mean, like, I mean, no wonder like consumers are riding products that aren't quite right.
Mhm.
You know, there's not enough individualization, or the ease of individualization has been drastically reduced over the last 10, 15 years or so. But, you know, in a consumer's mind, does that matter?
well, it should do. And I think this is why it's important, as like what we do is important. So it's
Well, isn't it? Because if you have minimal adjustability on your bike, you want to know that, or I would want to know for sure, that if I'm about to drop 5, 6, 8, 10 grand on a bike that can't really be adjusted,
Yeah.
I want to know if that thing's going to actually be even close before I drop that sum of money on a bike.
So I've got another point about this, and it's related to bike reviewers,
Oh, yeah.
online bike reviewers.
Go on.
But this is what I'm saying. I think it's important as sort of part of a bike fit process that you, like I say, dismantle the bike metaphorically, because bike reviewers, when they're doing their write up on whatever media outlet, like, and they say things like, but they make comments on its speed or its handling capabilities. It's like, well, do they ever mention, is that a different crank length from what they were usually using? Are the handlebars 20 mil lower than what they might usually ride? But if you don't have that understanding, then you read things like that and you presume that is, like I'm saying, the bike as a whole.
Yeah. So, you know, we were talking like earlier when we were sat at the cafe about bullshit jobs. Go on. But there's this, it's like, but you see, like, you know, reviews of saddles.
Yeah, saddle reviews.
Saddle reviews.
I mean, does
the
anyone-
most pointless thing on earth is a saddle review, because it's so individual and it's so dependent on where that saddle is in space relative to the other two contact points that you have no idea until you sit on it and are fitted to it. Because, I mean, you have your favourite saddles, I'm sure. I have mine. You have yours, Way. You put them on in the wrong place, they suck. You know? So, and this is where I think, like, you know, bike reviews of bikes just don't really tell you that much at all. Just because of those variables that you said, like, is that bike fitted? How well is that bike fitted for that tester? You know, how far off is it compared to what they would normally ride, or what their preferences are, or, you know, how long have they had that bike? What kind of rides have they taken it on? How long is the test period be? what are their preferences, what are their biases, what are they getting paid to say? Just saying, you know.
Yeah,
so
but I think this is just the modern era of like there's so much information out there. It's really hard to discern from what is important, what is not. Maybe the simplicity of a bike, maybe that appeals. But it's kind of simplicity that's kind of masks all this other complexity.
but we've made simple stuff complicated.
Yeah.
By hiding everything away and making things unadjustable. Like the bike as a construct hasn't really changed since the safety bicycle. Like Queen Victoria was on the throne when that.
Yeah.
But so the bike as a as its kind of entity hasn't really, and its design hasn't really changed much in like a century and a half.
Yeah, like shifters, they basically do the same thing, right? They just move like a pulley wheel up and down.
Yeah, they move a derailleur across in space to derail a chain from one sprocket to the next.
But we just made it more complex.
We just made it way more complex. And people start fights about it as to whether Campag's better than Tram or Shimano or whatever. And this is the whole thing, is like this complexity bias that we have. Is like we've made a simple thing very complex and created a rod for our own backs, in the fact that we now are riding bikes that, like you said originally, Matt, are just one entity and are drastically unadjustable relative to what they were 10, 15 years ago, which isn't that long. So have we made progress? I would argue not.
And yeah, it is. Like some of it is purely because brands do want to keep you within their ecosystem.
Well, they have to, because ultimately, like if you buy if you buy a Doors Galaxy, that's one and done. You never need to buy another bike again. It's true, isn't it? Because you can fix it. It's like Trigger's Brew. So but how do brands keep you coming back? And how do they keep selling product? They have to iterate and reiterate and reinvent the wheel, sometimes literally, to keep you coming back and keep you buying more products.
Maybe bikes don't ask us enough questions these days. If you had a Doors Galaxy,
Great bike.
because you can pull everything apart and because everything is adjustable, you can put different handlebar on it, you put a different stem on it, you can choose how many spaces you want under the stem, etc., etc. That already begs a question. It's almost like asking you, well, what should be the right step? What should be the right handlebar? But if there are no options, then people just kind of accept it. And that is, is 15 mil of spaces in a Canyon Air Road enough adjustment for you? Well, you don't really know.
You don't know.
You don't know until you kind of get a bike and put it out of the box and start riding it.
If every time you had to buy a bike, you had to choose the size of all the contact points, could you imagine how much more open-minded people would be?
No, I think there's a problem with that, though, is that because we're so bombarded with choice and information and decisions in our daily lives that you just essentially become numb to it. Like, you have to make decisions, even subconsciously, throughout your entire waking hours, right? So you're constantly being bombarded with decisions. And then you add more decisions on top of that.
So what do you think the outcome of that would be? Let's say, hypothetically, if every time you bought a bike,
Yeah.
you had to choose your crank length, your stem length, your bar width, etc.
I think it depends on the person, doesn't it? But you'd get people who would just go bang, 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 whatever, first one on the list. Yeah, I'll do it. And then you get people who are overthinking it, potentially, and just get paralysis by analysis. And just be like, well, I don't know. But then how do you know? You come for a bike fit.
Yeah, I'm not saying people would make the right decision.
So it's and that's the thing. It's all down to the individual and how they approach that choice and that problem, rather than if we, because you can go on Orbea's website and you can configure pretty much everything. Yeah, it's amazing. So you can choose stem length, bars. They've got width. They've got different. They've got risers.
Factor, basso.
Yeah,
you can do it.
So you can do it, but do people still end up with the wrong stuff? Maybe.
But
choice doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to get it right.
But the questions being asked, as opposed to, I guess we come across people who just come in for a bike fit. Like sometimes they'll say, well, why are you here? And someone, they'll just say, oh, because someone told me to come in here. So they don't really know why they're there. But there's an inkling there that something could be better.
Yeah.
Maybe. Or someone who's bought a second-hand bike and they're like, well, oh no, is this as good as it could be? I don't know. There needs to be some kind of reason or stimulus or something that drives someone to kind of actually start asking the questions. And if it's not the the bike itself, then, it'll be the riding and, what they experience on the bike and so on.
I think, go on.
I don't know. I mean, maybe it doesn't matter. Like, people will eventually come round to it.
Well, I think I had a chat with a gent this morning about this, and like, he came in and was like, yeah, well, no issues, like, on my bike. Like, I'm just, had a family member who came and did this process and said it was good. So, even if it's just validating what I've already got, then that's fine.
Yeah.
But, and then he said, you don't know what you don't know. It's like, yes, sir, you are correct. You don't know what you don't know. And we ended up having a good session and making some meaningful changes, because he didn't know what he didn't know. But he came out aware with it with more knowledge than he ever started with. So he's now got some decisions to make, but he's got more knowledge and information from which to make those decisions. So I think ultimately it's kind of like, yeah, does it matter? Maybe not.
Ignorance is bliss.
Ignorance is sometimes bliss. Does everyone need a bike fit? Maybe not. Can everyone benefit from a bike fit? I would say yes. Chan's nodded.
Yeah. I mean,
true. You can't say fairer than that, can you?
Even Vanderpool.
Is he too far along now?
I don't know. Pros are different.
Pros are different. We talked about
They
that.
have different priorities.
Yeah.
Going back to
But I think that's the main point, is that, you don't know what you don't know. But if you've made it into the studio, you're kind of maybe willing to explore and maybe figure some stuff out, and maybe hopefully leave with more knowledge than when you started.
Yeah. If
Yeah.
you're curious and you're interested about improving your maximal gains, where
As a triggering phrase.
where can you just make the right fundamental choices for your body, for your bike, then yeah, it seems logical and useful to search out more knowledge and to experiment, whether that's with a practitioner or just figuring out what can you change on your bike. Even like the lever position, like how far towards the handlebar can you pull that kind of brake lever on your shifters. I know there's no manual that tells you that there's a little grub screw behind the lever blades that you can adjust the lever position.
Well, there is, but you've got to go really hunting for it.
Yeah, but like, unless you know about it.
Unless you know about the si.shimano website.
Yeah, then most people don't even know that that's an option.
Yeah.
And so, like, sometimes that can be the most valuable thing about getting a bike to the session. It's like, oh, I suddenly realize that I can actually change the position of that lever, or I can move my lever hoods up and down on the bar itself. The bar angle can be adjusted.
Wow. Can it?
Or can it? Yeah. Or, how do I adjust the angle of my saddle?
Yeah.
There's so many different seat post configurations. You had a lovely time with an MV seat post the other day, didn't you?
The amount of canyons with that Boeing ergon post.
Yeah.
Where the adjustments, you have to take the whole seat post out and it's at the bottom. And
It's like a whole puzzle when you want
yeah. That MVC post is rubbish.
horrendous.
Over-engineered.
Especially Madison then.
Yeah, I didn't. I knew. But this is the thing. It's like, before you drop a bomb on, spending loads of money on a bike, go into it eyes wide open. I think that's the thing, isn't it?
But where do people go to find out that knowledge?
www.foundation.fit.
Dumbo bike fit? Yeah.
You go to your local bike shop and you don't take that opinion as gospel.
No, but this young Matt here made a face as soon as he said that. But that's the key. People have gone away from that local bike shop consultation. Like if you go and you want to buy a bike, you can click buy. It's so easy. Go click buy, spend 10 grand, boom, done. Without any kind of knowledge about what you're potentially buying. Really.
But what I will say as well is that you're not necessarily guaranteed to go into your local bike shop and gain good knowledge and information. You'll get an opinion, but it might not be an impartial one, and it might not be.
But the thing is, like, the questions have been asked, and so there triggers your thought process. And I think that's what you've been trying to get at, young Matt, about dismantling the bike, is to understand all the different component parts so that you can start to question and make decisions.
Be informed.
Yeah. Like, if you didn't know that, you can take the levers off your handlebars, then you wouldn't even bother, trying to adjust them. They just are. the left one's pointing outwards and the right one's pointing inwards. That's just how it is. But, I feel like people should be curious.
You need to look for things where you can find them. And that sometimes starts offline in your local bike shop, because then you can see things and touch things. But ultimately, the only opinion that matters is yours. And the only way you're going to get an informed opinion is by listening to the opinions of others, taking what you think is good from those opinions and discarding what you think isn't, but also taking on board differing opinions to that of your own. So that when you're engaging in debate with people, you have to listen to, points of view, thoughts, opinions, perspectives that might not necessarily align with your own. And the whole point of debate and kind of, coming to a logical and kind of, well-rounded conclusion is that, like in science, you look at all of the information that you have in front of you, and then you critically dissect it, and then you form an opinion or a hypothesis at the end of that. And that is the only way to make informed decisions, is to take a variety of opinions and, points of view, and then digest that yourself, and then see what comes out of the end.
And listen to your body.
That as well. Ignore your power meter, listen to your body.
Yeah. Does this bike feel not very fast because the more expensive bike's frame is 1% faster, or is it because you can't pedal on it very well because your crank's too long?
Every bike's a slow bike until you put someone on it.
Talk about this forever.
Yes. Right. You wanted to keep this to half an hour, didn't you?
It's 37 minutes.
That's all right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we can knock it on the head there. I think people have heard enough.
It's true.
But yeah, if any of this kind of hits a chord with you, then we do offer a fit before you buy process. And as everyone who goes through it usually says, it's very informative. Knowledge is literally power. So really encourage you to come for a bike fit before you buy so you can make the best decisions for you. All right. But if you've got a different opinion, let us know, because we want to know about it. And, then we can change our opinions. All right. So till the next one, we'll say ta-ra for now.
Ta-ra for now.
If you made it to the end of this episode, thanks for listening. If you enjoyed what you heard, do leave us a rating or review, as this really helps other riders find our podcast too, and motivates us to keep making more episodes. Thanks for your support, and catch you on the next one.
Suffering from numb hands, tingling toes, and any other persistent discomforts when you ride? These are all signs that your bike fit could be improved. If you're bike fit curious, get in touch with Wei or Matt by emailing info@foundation.fit or finding them on Instagram @FDN_bikefit. Finally, for all your bike servicing needs, custom dream bike or hand-built wheels, go to www.frequencycycleworks.com or find me on Instagram @frequencycycleworks. Until next time, keep on spinning.